Hello, everybody. Welcome to the National Parents Union Nightly Restorative Check-In. I am your host, Marisol Quevedo Rerucha. As always, I am the very proud wife to Daniel. I'm the mother to Camerina, Emilia, and Sofia. I am daughter to Irma and Abran. I am the grandmother to Isabela Luna, Cynthia Iliana, and Lorenzo Martin. I am also the very proud granddaughter to Camerina Rodriguez Castro, Alejandro Castro, Carmen Bedoya Quevedo, and Francisco Quevedo. I am also sister to Alex, Cameron, and Atia, and niece to Yolanda, and many, many others. I want to thank you for I always thank you for that time, right? To introduce myself in that way and to honor those that have poured into me, honor those generations that came before me, the generations that are with me now, those that I'm with shoulder to shoulder, face to face, and those that are coming after us. And I think it's always important for me to ground myself in who I am and where I come from, and also like what was hoped and dreamed for me and what I hope and dream for our future, because that's what I'm about. Every day of my life is about making today better for those that I love and those that need love, right? And that's actually all of us. So thank you for that time in that moment. So today is Monday, March 8th. It is almost, in 5 days, it'll be a year that we've been in this pandemic. And today is also International Women's Day. And what a beautiful, beautiful celebration. I've been doing some reading. Actually, the book that's holding up my computer is The Moment of Lift by Melinda Gates. And actually what I really love about the book is that she talks about women's issues throughout the world. And I was reading over the weekend about, that women's suffrage and women's right to vote had to be given to them by men. And that it was, of course, only given at first to white women, and then not to women of color, to Black women specifically, until 1964. So I just like thinking about that. And then also thinking about like the data that you hear about, that women are very educated. I think that our numbers especially in graduate programs are very high. And we have more women every day that are becoming millionaires and leading the world. I just think it's really important for us to think about our sisters, celebrate those that have created the space for us to be where we are, and also to elevate those that are coming up right behind us, because this next generation is freaking amazing and phenomenal. And so today on International Women's Day, I celebrate you, I celebrate myself, I celebrate my daughters, I celebrate yours, our mothers, our grandmothers, our elders, and all of those that are coming after our grandchildren. So happy International Women's Day. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move into our breathing technique before we invite our guest on. And so if you remember, this is the 4-7-8 breathing technique. So we inhale for 4 seconds, we hold for 7, and we release for 8. And we do this 4 times. And this was taught to me by Dr. Anjali. She has the show on Friday. Please make sure to catch the show. And I want you, Visha, I'm so happy that you're here, because one of the most amazing women that you will ever meet is going to be joining us tonight. And I'm so grateful that you're going to be sharing space with her. I celebrate you, Visha, and I celebrate our Kennedy and our Luna and our Chonchis and our little Lorenzo Martin and our daughters and our sons. Okay, so I'm sorry. With that, let's go ahead and move into our breathing technique. So 4-7-8. We inhale for 4, we hold for 7, we release for 8, and then we do this 4 times. So if you could please, Ginger, I see that you're here. I'm so glad. We're going to do our breathing technique. Put your feet firmly on the ground, close your eyes, and just take a breath in and out. And inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. So I want to say hi to Ginger. We're so glad that you're here. I'm going to bring Lorena on. Let me switch us over and also share. So my mom Idema is here, who knows Lorena. Hopefully we'll talk about the connection. And so Lorena, thank you so much for being with us. I always ask my guests to introduce themselves, and you can share anything that you want. So if you want to introduce yourself and talk about who you are, about your family, about your friends, about your loved ones, the things that you love, the things that you hate, about your work, whatever it is that you want, like legit, this is your time. And before you get going, I just want to share, you are getting so much love right now. You're getting hugs and you're getting little starry eyes, and your mommy is here too. We got the moms in the house. So Lorena, please, however it is your heart is asking you to share, please share.
Thank you so much for the invite. I'm so excited because it's International Women's Day. And I did ask you before we started this program if anyone ever cried on this program, and you said yes. And so the tears come so freely, and they're so genuine, and I am, I think, really touched that our mothers are here. So I just want to give them a big props right now and honor all that they did for us and all that their mothers and grandmothers did for them to ensure that we could be sitting here tonight on International Women's Day talking about how awesome we are, okay?
Well, dude, like we stand on the shoulders of giants, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, the two giants that are watching, my mom and your mom, and the giants whose shoulders they stood on, you know? But before we even get into anything, let's talk about your mama. Like, talk about that, the way that you are moved to emotion, like with love, right? With love, like that feeling, that movement for you. Just tell me about your mama.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I think that you and I share an experience that we're so lucky to be raised by women who are true chingonas and amazing women leaders, will do anything to advocate for and protect the people they love, which include not only us, but all of their kids, since they were teachers and counselors and stuff. I think Ginger's talking to both of us when she says that we're a good daughter. And so, you know, like I really, really just channeled all of that in that moment, you know, that all of my ancestry. 2 weeks ago, my mother's sister passed away. And she was such a great role model to us, you know? And she was like the cool aunt. She took me to a David Bowie concert in Barcelona, Spain when I was 12 years old. I was like, David who? Okay, so that's like one of the shining moments of my youth. And she took me to Cabo when I was 15 and let me and my friend go out by ourselves. And she was just like the cool aunt, you know? My mom knows all of the stories, so I'm not going to mess myself up by revealing any secrets. Poor lady knows too much. She was a counselor at Mission Bay High School for 24 years and was with the school district for over 40 years. And that's how I met your mom, is because I worked at the school district on a program called okay, I'm sorry. I'm obsessed with llamas. Llama, Latinos and Latinas Achieving More Academically. And our moms worked on a program called Adelante Mujer Latina, Niñas de Aztlán, a lot of programming for young women to make sure that the following that they really left their mark on, well, they weren't doing it to leave their mark on the world. They were doing it so that women could have opportunities and to inspire and push them. You know, this is what happens when you give me the mic and the free flow.
Those programs were for elementary school kids, like young women.
Oh yeah, all ages, all K through 12.
Yes, but it included that spectrum. Like it was about like getting them at all of the ages.
Correct, because they knew that early childhood those years are crucial. In fact, my mom ended her career working for the mental health department of the district on a curriculum called Second Step, which is for kindergartners. And it's an emotional intelligence curriculum and teaches kids how to understand their own emotions and recognize others. And it really builds that emotional intelligence that you and I got from watching our parents move about, you know. And you know, one time I was doing Avid Night in you know, I was with two of I was on the board of La Raza Lawyers. I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for 15 years. So I'm very lucky to have had that opportunity. And I was at Avid Night at Sweetwater District, you know, for call Avid Night, like career night. So there I was with two of my brethren from the board of La Raza Lawyers Association. And we were talking to the kids about what it was like to be a lawyer and, you know, lying through our teeth about how fabulous it is. But anyways, no, I mean, everything is done with a grain of salt. And actually, I became a lawyer and went to the world of public interest because I tell people I'm a recovering Catholic school kid, and look at who raised me. You know my family. So I was destined to help people. You know, and I do it, and I'm happy to do it through my job at the Legal Aid Society, where we fight for access to justice. But anyways, I was at the Avid Night, right? And this lady comes in, and she's with her daughter, who's a junior or senior in high school at the time. And she wants to be a lawyer, so she's coming to the lawyers, you know, the caucus. So she's coming to hear the lawyers wax poetic about our professions. And during the talk, she raises her hand and she says to me, I know who you are. Your mother was my counselor at Mission Bay High School. Then she proceeded to tell us that her father did not allow her to take advantage of a full ride to Yale. Okay, so this young lady had received a scholarship to attend Yale, and this was what our moms saw all over the place, right, Marisol? I mean, they saw, you know, the girls who were like, oh, well, he told me if I loved him that I would do X, Y, and Z, and you know, now I'm pregnant, or you know, Latinas girls having to take care of their parents a lot, just like my mom had to do when she was the oldest of 5 and her father died when she was 7 years old. But, you know, like, so anyways, so those are the stories, and people kept telling me, even to now, you know, the president of the board of Mana de San Diego, Venus, is her counselee. There's a lot of people out there that I run into in my professional life that I'm always so proud to see, because my mom helped impact their lives. And some people will see me and say, like, this one guy introduced me to his friends, and he was like, this is Lorena, her mom saved my life, you know, stuff like that, you know. Anyways, so I am a huge fan of my mom, and I'm not alone. She has a fan club, as does your mom. And so we really share this beautiful connection, and we come from, I'd like to think that we're cut from the same cloth. You know, my uncles worked for Cesar Chavez, or with him, and was very much influenced by them. And then all the social justice type of volunteering. And I mean, the first volunteer gig I had was with Pete Chacon, our first Latino state assembly member. That was really exciting when I was in high school. And now fast forward to me working on my friend's campaign for that same district, you know, so it's really exciting. I think the full circle, people that I met 20 years ago and lent a hand to and collaborated with are the same folks that I run into now at the age of 46. And it's a really wonderful experience, and people will always hassle me, why didn't I not move out of San Diego? Well, you know, this is my home. I'm very connected. And I feel like I have, like, I call it the golden handcuffs, where I can't leave. There's so much wonderful stuff here. My family, my roots, my connections, the footprint I feel like I'm leaving, you know, here locally is really important to me.
Well, and I'm hearing also, like, just responsibility. Like that there's this place that we were both born and raised, right? And your mom was born and raised here also, right?
Yeah, well, she was born in Oxnard, raised in Fresno, but did come here by the age of 6 and attended. I live in North Park. She attended elementary school right here in North Park.
Yeah, and my mom was born and raised here. And so being a second generation San Diegan, I think also like having that responsibility for our people. I have a question that I really, I've just been thinking about on my own, and I don't know if you've thought about it, but thinking about our moms, right? And I know like having the blessing to know I knew my grandmothers. What do you, and I don't know like your family stories, but what do you think your ancestors were about? Like your like your great grandparents, your great grandparents that you may not have known. Like,
well,
what do you know, or what do you imagine them being? Because that blood that you have is so strong.
Yeah, thank you for that question. My dad's paternal grandparents came from Riga, Latvia. They were Latvian Jews. So a quarter of my DNA is Latvian Jew. Mm-hmm. And I majored in Russian in college and lived in Russia for a year. And I'm very proud of that part of my heritage.
And you speak Russian pretty fluently, right? Or you know all the bad words?
Fluent enough. I know all the bad words, yes. If there's any Russians watching, I'm okay at it. But if there's none, I'm fabulous at it. And, when I was 10, my parents sent me to Ensenada to learn Spanish. And so I was lucky to learn it at a very young age. But going back to your question, so I have these Russian Jewish great grandparents, right? And so my maternal grandmother's parents were from Mexico. Well, my grandmother is a Californiana many generations back. I mean, before when California was part of Mexico, even before 1848. And her father, his name was Isaías Torres, and he was an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And something that's really special about my existence on life is that he did leave us when I was about 10 years old, but he left a legacy. And the legacy was this very special place that we go to as a retreat, which is located in Baja near Ensenada. And we call it Rancho Bonito. Mm-hmm. And it is very bonito. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. It's off the grid. It's a place where we really feel our ancestors. I suspect that, my parents will, in their future, their ashes will be there. We're very connected to that land, and we do talk in my immediate family about death in ways that some people might think is weird, but I think that it helps us to cope with that part of life, which is death, which is part of the circle and the cycle of life, Mm-hmm. So, my mom tells this story that's amazing about my great grandfather not wanting my grandmother to go to nursing school. And so my great grandmother invited the local priest when they were living in Fresno over for dinner. And the local priest proceeded to tell my great grandfather that if his daughter went to nursing school, that she'd make some money, and wouldn't that be great for him? Mm-hmm. So off she went to nursing school.
Amazing.
And it reminds me of like the movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, where they get the dad to think of something that they're already thinking. And they're like, you are brilliant, So it was kind of like a moment like that.
Mm-hmm. What did the wife say? She says the wife is the neck.
Yeah, so she says, because the dad says, always remember the man is the head of the family or household or whatever. And then he gets up and walks away and she says, yes, but the woman is the neck, and the neck controls which way the head moves. I've always loved that.
And so what was the impact of your great grandmother going to nursing school?
My grandmother. Yeah.
Your grandmother.
Yes, because my great-grandmother was clever, invited the priest over who convinced my great-grandfather to allow my grandmother, Rita, to go to nursing school. And she went to...
How did that impact your family? And impact, what was the trickle effect of that?
Sure, that's another great question. Well, unfortunately, my mother and her sister and my 3 uncles grew up without a father, and my grandmother never remarried. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons she was able to remain unmarried, frankly, is because she was a nurse and had a job and she was a professional. So she did not have to depend on like a man in those times, the 50s. And, you know, my mom was born in 1946 and she was the first of 5. So my grandmother was empowered and she was the boss of the household. So, I mean, that was one trickle-down effect. You know, my cousin Sara, who is a brilliant doctor, she's a pediatrician. She told my nana once, my grandmother, that she wanted to be just like her and she wanted to be a nurse. And then my grandmother, my nana, said, you're going to be a doctor one day. And sure enough, Sara is a doctor now with Kaiser and she's a pediatrician. And my friends will be like, oh, we went to our pediatrician appointment and it was your cousin. So I always love hearing that, you know? And so, I mean, these are really wonderful trickle or ripple effects that have come from the matriarchs.
Well, and I think about like that, so that like the tiering of that, right? Like how we said, like you stand on the shoulders of giants so that you can continue to grow. And I know, so I'm thinking about your daughter, and what that impact is going to be for her.
Yes.
Of that next, of you know, like the next phase of your family's legacy. Sure.
Well, thank you for bringing her up, because I don't have children, but I have a granddaughter who I mean, who
Call her
is
your granddaughter or your daughter?
Oh, no. So she's my goddaughter.
Oh, your goddaughter, yes.
Correct. And so she is like the light of my life. And anyone who's ever been to Baja, like you, have met her, and her name's Maggie. And she's really amazing. I've met her. She's really changed my life, and I've changed hers. And my mom has sent her books since before she could read, and she loves reading, and she will be a boss lady one day. And she is really amazing. Here she is, howling like a wolf. And that's her speaking a little Japanese, and she's howling like a wolf, and that's Mowgli. So she lives off the grid on a ranch in Mexico, in Baja, with all of her animals, no devices except for school. You know, she's really lives a very pure existence. And so my family and I really have enhanced her life. I've known her since she was a baby, and she's now 9 years old. So this little girl is the daughter of the folks who care for our home in Mexico. And I've developed this amazing connection with her. And I really want her to learn English and math and run a business one day that I can set up for her. So that's kind of my hope, is that I can really
for the rest of your life.
Well, you know, my thought really was that she could take care of her parents. You know, they're from Chiapas.
Yeah.
The father is a farm worker, and so, you know, they are a little under 50 years old, and they won't be able to work for the rest of their lives, and their jobs are physically demanding. And so I really think that the ability to Hi, Jeanette Handelsman, my favorite teacher from OLP, who I never had as a teacher, but she was the ASB person. She's so awesome and supportive. So anyways, I'm hoping that what I can do is kind of break the intergenerational cycle of poverty that really plagues people around the world. And I'm not like claiming to be the great white hope. I'm very connected with these people, and they are like family to me, and I'm like family to them. And so my hope is that Maggie will be able to take care not only of me, but of her parents, more importantly, because, you know, I was blessed to be able to take care of my aunt along with some cousins and my uncles in her last days. And it was a very powerful experience. And she never had children, you know? Mm-hmm. So I can't tell you how many times people would say, like, why don't you have kids? You'd be a great mom. I know. Why don't you have kids? Your parents are retired. I know. Why don't you have kids? Someone needs to take care of you when you get older. I know. But watching our community of family come around and take care of my aunt, mm-hmm. and really provide her comfort and love in her last days, mm-hmm. made me really not worry about that. It really, really confirmed to me that, you know, you don't have to have to reap the benefits of loving a child and that unconditional love that I'd never experienced before, but with little Maggie. So anyways.
Well, it's a different, I think that relationship with a child, right? Like that love, that bond, but you have that, I mean, you had it with your aunt, which is different because you were the kid. So it shifts from you being the adult and that responsibility. But I want you to tell me more about your aunt. I want to talk more about her. What was her name, first of all? And she just, the way, girl, you're for David Bowie in Spain.
I know, so her name is Maggie also. But my goddaughter's name is Margarita and my aunt's name is Magdalena. So my Aunt Mag, we call her Mag, and we call her Nina, even though like she's Nina to one of my brothers and to other cousins, but we all call her Nina, which means godmother in which is one of the words for godmother in Spanish. And she was a social worker, all her life and was retired. And she worked for CPS and she did really hard work working for Child Protective Services, going into homes, doing welfare checks, determining whether or not a child should stay in the home or not, suffering through experiences like not pulling a child from the home and then something really bad happens to the child, all the things that I imagine a social worker for CPS would go through. And also really helping people to improve their lives and sustain their relationships with their families and give them the opportunity and support them in their quest to reunite with their children, So I'd say the good and the bad and the ugly, things that I see as lawyers too, as a lawyer, for example. But she was very compassionate. This is how she will go down in our minds and our hearts, very compassionate person, had a love for life that was amazing. How did I end up going to see David Bowie in Barcelona in the soccer stadium when I was 12 years old? Because my aunt, after she retired from the county, went to work in different parts of the world teaching English because she was an adventurist. And so she spent a year in Taiwan. And after that, wanted to go to Europe. And so her and my grandmother, my Nana, who had just retired, went to Spain and didn't know where they were going to live, but ended up liking Barcelona, and staying there for a year. So my mother took me and my brother Mike, who's a year younger than me, and my cousin Sara, the now doctor pediatrician, with her to go visit my Nana and my Aunt Mag. My grandmother and I, my Nana and I, switched plane tickets, so I got to stay in Europe for a month. They took us to Paris. It was Bastille Day. It was kind of freaky because there was a lot of action and fireworks and stuff and drunk cops. They took us to we got to travel, and I had never been to Europe, and it was amazing. It was an eye opener, and so I mean that's a very privileged experience for me as a 12-year-old, And so she would take me and my cousin Sara out to clubs, and we were like 15. I'm sorry, we were 12. We were 12 and 13 at the time. And so it was just kind of wild. She would take us to these, we would go to topless beaches. I mean, it was wild, a 12-year-old American kid in Europe. And, I would go to the clubs with her and my eyes would immediately start watering because, there were a lot of smokers and a lot of that cigarette smoke. So anyways, my clubbing days are over. It's been a long time since I was 12 years old, but it was pretty rock star. I felt like a rock star. Yeah, at 12.
What do you think were the I don't know if it's values or those things that she implanted in you, or maybe that you already shared through your blood that you definitely know came from the relationship with her and what she poured into you?
Yeah, immediately the thing that comes to my mind is to never compromise your values. And I mean, in every aspect of her life, she was an influencer. And she was just an amazing person. And, she was the first lesbian I ever knew, and she really helped me understand growing up in a very Catholic environment that not everybody's the same and we have to love everybody. And, I was just I was very sheltered growing up. And she really broke a lot of stereotypes for me, and she was kind of I would say she had short hair. People would always call her sir, You know, I would go places with her. It was awesome. One time when we were coming back from that Europe trip, we spent the night at JFK or LaGuardia. You know, we decided to spend a day in Manhattan. We went to see this and other stuff. And it was just blew my mind at 12, you know? So living by your own rules, never compromising. This is what she amazing, because she really had that kind of joie de vivre that we all seek, I think. And some of us will spend a lifetime looking for that which gives us joy, pure joy. And she found it, you know? Without ever having kids, she never got married. She had wonderful relationships and really loved her nephews, nieces, and her family, and the work that she did and the legacy she left is a wonderful one.
Share with us, how have you like followed that pattern of like living by your own rules, of not compromising, of having that love of life? How do you live that? Tell me some stories.
Gosh, well, I mean, I am a legal aid attorney, so how many times have I been asked, like, why don't you get a real job? Or you know how much money you could be making? Yes, I do have a real job. And yes, I do know how much money I could be making. I choose to be happy, you know, and that means different things for different people. My subjective reality is that my family makes me happy. My job makes me happy. Helping people makes me happy. Uplifting people makes me happy. Gifting to others makes me happy. Sometimes this, as you know, this can be a double-edged sword, because I'm usually a brilliant woman once said to me that she suffered from overconfidence. Who was that woman, and what was the rest of that quote?
Well, I know that was me.
Well, why did you say that you suffer from overconfidence?
Yeah, well, and you know, I think that was also because it can be hard for people to understand all the things that I'm able to do, a lot of things. And also I think within that, and that it really broke open for me when I started sewing, and when I really started getting into like my creative self and like starting to draw and like start like express myself in that way. And like, I just got into it, and now I'm a plant mom. But part of that, it was like, in everything that I did, I was able to do it. And I think then I realized, like, I have that thing that makes me believe that I can do.
Yeah.
Confidence. Like, right. Oh, I can do that. Oh, I can do that.
Yeah. And were we not conditioned to think that we can do it all? Yeah. I mean, this is, thank you, moms.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were really conditioned to believe that we could do anything that we set our minds to. I mean, to the extent that 2 years ago, I stopped lawyering and accepted a position at my organization as our first director of development. Why? Because I love Legal Aid Society, and I love our impact, and I love the justice that we bring to San Diegans and how we change lives. And I really, really believe in us as an organization and want us to grow and thrive forever. And so, like, I really think that I've been blessed with opportunities that are really like tailored to me. So I kind of do whatever I want. I'm a solo traveler. I love traveling by myself. Someone recently told me that they had seen me like at a coffee shop a couple times and noticed that my body language was very like bossy. And I explained to them, well, you know, I'm kind of like non-confrontational, and I consider myself to be a little meek and not a risk taker. This is how I see myself, but this is not how others see me, you know? And I said, and plus I'm a solo traveler. So, you know, I'm used to walking around like, don't mess with me, you know, and very aware of my surroundings. But these are also the things that we do as humans to rationalize. I'm very bad at accepting compliments, right? I'm the first one to be like, oh yeah, but okay. But, you know, I'm 46 and there's enough of that, you know? And so I say that we commit to spending the second half of our lives in our full glory, because that's, you know, our moms are retired. They do whatever they want. They say whatever they want. And they are as effective as they were 20, 30 years ago, to be honest, as leaders, as influencers, as compassionate thought leaders. And anyways.
I think some of the best
I forget the question, of course, but you know, that's par for the course.
I'm just thinking about like some of the most beautiful times have been like just kind of stopping at my mom's house and just like talking and hearing her perspective on things. And like, those, you know, my mom I think she's going to be 80 this year. And, And so I'm grateful for every moment that I get to share with her. But even more so as I get older, as she gets older, as I get more and more grandkids, which are her great grandchildren, like that, just being able to sit and be so present and hear her take on things. You know, sometimes it's stories and sometimes it's just like perspective, which is just, it's a gift. And the fact, you know, the last time that I saw your mom, it was so beautiful, Lorena. We were sitting in my mom's back room, and she was talking to me about the relationship that she had with her grandmother.
Yeah.
And just being able, like the blessing that we have to have not just the relationship with our mothers and our parents, but that they created a community where like I can experience that connection, that connection of hearts with her, both as a granddaughter and also, you know, now being a grandmother. And can you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
That is my grandmother's clock. Off at the wrong times, and it has been dormant.
Who's listening?
It has been dormant forever. And my granddaughter Luna, she took me to it last week, and she just pointed at it, and so I turned it on, and it's been running. But just that reminder of my, and it's off. You know, it's 6 minutes late. But I wanted to go back. So I just want to go back, Lorena. The thing about you that, like,
and our mothers. I'm sorry, our mothers are the keepers of history, and the family archivists. Super huge, you know. I have not. I really, really want my mom to capture my mom talking about our family and all the family tree. I mean, she has got that down to a science. It's so impressive. I don't know. Same with your mom, I imagine. I mean, it's amazing.
Well, the thing with us is more the stories, right? Like getting the stories, like the who, the what, like trying to capture them. And I just want to say this, Allison Apsey. Hello, my friend. It's been forever. But yes, girl, committing to spending the second half of our lives in our full glory. And you know what, though, Lorena, I have to tell you, so when you worked with my mom, we were in our early 20s.
Early 20s, yeah.
I was a mom of two by then. And you were living a beautiful life of the woman of the times that you should be.
Yeah, partying in college and stuff. Yeah.
But you have always, your joy for life is contagious. Your way of being and your ability to connect with people, like if that is something that your aunt Mag shared with you, like what a freaking gift. What an amazing gift. And and also giving you that experience of 12 years old of seeing the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's just nothing compares. You know, I'm a lover of experiences. So, you know, there's nothing I can think of in my mind that if I had the most money in the world that I could buy that would make me happy. And this is instilled in me from my youth. And I'm also lived a very comfortable, privileged life. I grew up in Del Cerro. We were not rich. We were not poor. We were comfortable. So I don't have neuroses about money that cause me or lead me to do things for money. And I'm not, you know, I live within my means, and I have a very comfortable life. And this is how I have structured it to really be able to do what I want, which, you know, can sound selfish, but I'm certainly, you know, I balance that out with all the good things I do to make me seem like a great Girl Scout. My mom had me in Girl Scouts from first grade, and I was there till 10th grade. So anyways.
Okay, wait. So raised Catholic. So this is Ginger agreeing. You do have a beautiful, pure energy. So raised Catholic, you were a Girl Scout. How has that played out in your life? Because I know, like, I was raised Catholic. I was not a Girl Scout. I think I went to a meeting once. But the Catholic thing, like, it did a couple of numbers on me. But I am very grateful for, like, my grounding and spirituality.
Yes.
But how has that played out in your life?
I mean, people ask me, so why'd you go work for legal aid? And I'm like, you know, 2 reasons. Number one, or why'd you become a lawyer and a legal aid lawyer, public interest lawyer? I said, number one, my daddy works at a law school. I got half off, and I was a Russian major, and I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. Number two, I'm a recovering Catholic school kid, and, you know, service to others, and I'm a quarter Jew. service to others. I mean, so, you know, and I grew up in a Jewish community. And fun fact, you know, I grew up wanting to be Jewish like my friends and them telling me, you're not Jewish, your mom's not Jewish, which is true. My mom's not Jewish. But we have theories about that actually based on her last name. But anyways, okay. So, so my father, he's half Jew, right? So I grew up in Del Cerro, a very conservative neighborhood in San Diego, and it's a Jewish neighborhood. When I was 35, I was invited by the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, on a trip to Israel. I was blown away that they were inviting me to this trip. A friend of mine named Victor Torres recommended me to them. He was on the trip too. They were taking a group of Latino leaders from the US. Mm-hmm. I say Latino leaders because when I was getting on the plane, they're like, why are you going on this trip with these Latino leaders? Because I'm very much perceived as white, mm-hmm. point, period, blank, you know? A lot of times when I'm not wearing something like this or saying my name like Lorena and so I said, oh, well, you know, I said, I'm an undercover Latino, you know, my mom's okay. And yes, I said, that's at the LL security. I said I was an undercover Latino. Anyways, then they asked me based on my passport if I was Jewish because my name was Lorena Esther Slomanson. And I said, oh, funny story. You know, my mom, she named me after her favorite, Tia Esther from Mexico. So that kind of encapsulated my identity cluster thing when I was growing up. But actually, I've turned it into a beautiful thing. And I say I have the best of all worlds. I don't know where this story started. I don't know where it's ending. But basically, it's been a journey of self-discovery, you know? When I was in Israel, people would come up to me and look at my crazy hair. And if they knew what my name was, and because in Israel, it's a very, you know, it's a melting pot. And so people come up to me and speak Hebrew. I'm like, oh, I'm not Jewish. And then if they would learn anything about me, they would say, how can you say you're not Jewish? Your great grandparents were Jewish. Of course you're Jewish. So here I was in Israel, and there are Israeli Jews telling me I'm Jewish. And how can I be so dumb to not know I'm Jewish? I said, well, talk to my homies back in Del Cerro back in the day, you know? But I mean, it was an epiphany, you know? I realized it depends on who you ask. When you ask me the question, are you Jewish? It depends on who you ask, and it's a subjective answer. And now I can say, like, yes, I'm Jewish. I mean, it's because I realized, you know, growing up Catholic, it was my religion. It wasn't part of my bloodline. That's not how I perceived it, right? And it took me a long time. And I thought I knew everything, you know, in my 30s going to Israel and having these epiphanies about, wow, it's a bloodline, an ethnicity, and a religion and a way of life, you know? So these were things that blew my mind that I never knew. And so growing up Catholic really like kind of, I think, made me think very sometimes in a box, you know? Mm-hmm. I do really love my experience. I went to Catholic school all my life. I'm a graduate of Our Lady of Peace, where Jeanette Handelsman was giving us props, you know, that she still works there, which is awesome. She's a graduate there. My mom's a graduate from there. My Aunt Mag was a graduate from there. My sister is. And so it's a really wonderful history. And, but you know, again, it's a privilege that I went to school there, and it's a privilege that I get to go and talk to the girls about my life and my career and stuff like that. But anyways, so I also, my mom calls me Hummingbird on steroids. So I don't know, I'm just all over the place, but I really love the free flow nature. I'm used to giving presentations that are very like bullet pointed and power pointed. So I really appreciate this.
Yeah, like I told you earlier, like this is just a time for us to like be and to connect and talk. I love the way that you talked about like your journey on this earth and like your space. And then also, you know, I feel like I'm getting closer to that realization when you said, like, are you Jewish? It depends on who you ask. But really like I'm getting closer to that place because it doesn't matter what anybody else says. Like, what do you say?
Oh yeah. When I was young, I grew up in Del Cerro. My mom would go walking, and then the little Jewish ladies, they were so sweet, you know. I used to bag groceries for them at Stumps. But anyways, they would stop and ask her if she wanted a ride. You know, I think they wanted to give her a ride to work, like where she was cleaning the houses, you know. But she would very politely decline the ride and say, no, thanks, you know. She's got a whole bunch of funny stories. Some of them I can't repeat on TV. I'm just going to call this TV. About people's assumptions about who she is, you know. And I mean, recently she was asked if she was my dad's caretaker, and she says, hell yeah, I'm his caretaker. So.
You know, I think
I've really made it. I've made it because I have this. I watched a TED talk about this, and I've studied this issue. I really think that with the love and support, and which gives us the emotional intelligence, which gives us the courage to define who we are, that is the ticket, man. Like, not everybody has that Cadillac experience growing up. So when I was young, I knew I was a little different. You know, everybody's parents were either both Japanese, both Mexican, both white, you know, etc.
Mhm.
So, you know, and I to this day, I have a friend who was from TJ who would come across and go to St. Therese, my elementary school. And she would tell me that when I was in first grade, before I learned Spanish, and her and my cousin would speak in Spanish, I would get all pissy and I would say to them, I know what you're saying. I speak Spanish too. And of course, they would laugh at me. They knew I didn't speak Spanish. Then in fourth grade, I learned Spanish. But what an amazing experience to go live in Mexico, and I didn't know anyone. And that really caused a resilience that, you know, allowed me to be in a place where, you know, I was working for Mayor Salas when she was on the city council of Chula Vista, and she's now the mayor. She would send me to events to represent her. So here I had to walk into a fancy event. I don't know anyone, and I had to just start talking to people. And so that really, you know, because I'm a timid kid. My mom will tell the story of me coming home in first, second, and third grade and her asking me who I had lunch with and me saying nobody. And she thought I was going to be like a, you know, antisocial recluse.
Anybody that knows you would ever believe that.
That's why it's so hilarious. Yeah. But, you know, growing up and not having a, you know, I always wanted a name like Tiffany, Susie, something that was easy to pronounce.
Mm-hmm.
My brother couldn't say my name when I was little, and he called me No-No. My sister got me this. It says No-No. It's my nickname. Anyways, you know, so growing up with that love and support and education, those are the three elements.
Yeah.
That really, I think, are the secret recipe to a human being able to define themselves however they want and to do whatever they want. So, and when I was little, I had to just learn who I was and understand myself. You know, going to Israel at 35 and being checked by the Israeli Jews was part of my journey, you know? And so now I can say that I'm whatever you want me to be. I can say, you know, that I'm never offended. I spoke to a new staffer at Legal Aid today who I thought was Latina. She's from Oxnard. And she is, in fact, half white, half Cambodian. And we really connected on that because I have a few friends that have been to Cambodia, and I have a Cambodian friend. And so, you know, I told her that I made an assumption about her and her area code and stuff, you know, and who she was. And I was wrong. And so I find myself sometimes checking myself because I'd still make assumptions, even though people make assumptions about me all the time, you know? Oh, you're the lawyer? Yes, I'm the lawyer. I'm sitting here. You know, stuff like that. And so growing up and creating my own identity, which is very much in line with, you know, the Russian, Jewish, and Mexican heritage is something that I embrace now, and that doesn't scare me because I understand it and I've made it my own. I own it, you know? So, I mean, that's been a really wonderful journey and something, you know, some people could really care. You know, I used to work at the courthouse for 10 years and working with people every day and talking to people and doing customer service on behalf of Legal Aid, helping with restraining orders, evictions, what, you know. So people would walk in and they would sign in, you know, and one time there was a lady who had an accent. I couldn't tell where she was from. She was Black, and she wrote her name down, and it was a French name. So I just said to her, like, hey, Haiti, Senegal? She's like, Haiti, you know? And then I saw her at Sprouts a couple weeks later. She was so excited to see me. But, you know, these little connections that I make on a daily basis. And there's also studies that say that you will live a longer life if you have these everyday connections. And that's why a lot of us have suffered during COVID. Yeah. Because some people are unaware of when they leave their house, they get on the bus, they say hi to the same bus driver. They go to I would go to the courthouse, say hi to the same sheriff and the senora who's cleaning and the, you know, clerk who's always at that window, or, you know, this is part of our existence. And these are the subtleties of life and the beautiful nuances that really add a lot of richness and texture to our lives, you know? And so those things, I really, really, really am in love with, like, the small things in life that really make life so profound. And I'm lucky enough to be able to get on a plane and go far away and experience learning other people. Travel has taught me more about myself and the world and other people than anything could. And that's created me. I mean, I think that's it reinforced my identity as a connector. So I can, I think I can talk to anybody about anything, because I worked in the courthouse and helped people experiencing homelessness with restraining orders. And I've met, people who are, in the hierarchy of life and government and celebrity status, up there, But anyways, okay, where were we?
Well, no, I think
we're wherever we want to be, girl. We're wherever we want to be.
We're exactly where we are. We are right here. We're right here. What I love, Lorena, about you just I think just having so much gratitude and knowing who you are and accepting who you are. And then being able, like that, you talked about connecting with people. What that does is people feel seen by you. Like you having experiences, you traveling the world, like that confidence, that all of that you have. But when you being able to see that woman and know, oh, it's one of these two, but that's I see you. And that's really what is really beautiful about your mom, about our moms, about our family, is that there is the constant, so you talk about it in the terms of service, right? That you have that servant heart, and even being Catholic, but really in that servitude, it's about the human being. It's about the connection with that individual and seeing that person for who they are. And that
all the value they have that is untapped maybe, or that isn't seen by the naked eye. Yeah.
So, and that's
my mom tells the story of being in first grade, being at a new school here in San Diego. And one of the nuns from Fresno came to work at that school, and my mom is talking with the principal or another teacher, and the nun who knows her from Fresno says, "Watch out for that one. She's very smart. She's exceptionally intelligent, brilliant." And to this day, my mom will tell that story, and she'll say, "I don't think that lady knew me from Adam, but she made me feel like I was brilliant and smart."
It was done, right? She saw her, and then it was done. And so imagine a little brown girl, 6 years old in San Diego, that was really very white, right? At the time. But knowing and hearing somebody else say that she was brilliant, hearing somebody else say, calling her out.
Yeah. And then fast forward to my mom becoming a guidance counselor, and sometimes being the only person to show up for the kid in juvie at the hearing, to be the character witness for that young man or that young woman. That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody today, and they talked about, and I also am a big fan of Father Greg Boyle from Homeboy Industries.
Oh, yeah.
And talking to somebody today who's a Christian. I believe she's a Christian. I don't know if there's but anyway, just talking about that work of going to the margins, right? And I think that even the conversation around that, it's just seeing our humanity. And there's so much, what an honor it is to be able to sit with people wherever they are, and whatever your status or your station or your education level or your class or how much money you have, your gift is you're able to sit with people and just be here and be present with them.
Yes.
All that other stuff. Yeah.
One of the biggest influences in my life is a guy who's my age, who was my high school boyfriend, and he went to prison for a crime he did not commit for 7.5 years. I was not in touch with him at that time, but we reconnected after the fact. And now fast forward and he's a brilliant artist. And he's been in San Diego for a couple of weeks doing some projects and some wonderful social justice murals. And I've connected him to some artists, and it's really taken off for him. So it's really wonderful to see that, because he's very humble. And when people see his work and his brilliance, they're just speechless, and the dominoes just fall into place.
We have a tendency, and I think it's human nature. There's this tendency, and I think especially in some of the things that we're talking about, but and in church, that we see that our morality is not really moral. And I got this from Father Greg Boyle, where he talked about when you get in that morality thing, then it otherizes people. And when we otherize people, people who have been in prison, or people who have any of those things, or who are drug addicts, or who have experienced homelessness, or are any of those things, when we start to see them separate from us.
Yeah.
then that's where pain, that's where trauma, that's where harm happens.
Yeah, and this is, might as well be talking about the law, right? The law does not treat everybody equally.
Right.
And the way that the law is manifested and is applied to people, especially people of color, is really, we agree, Irma, we are phenomenal. Is really, you know, it's just a testament to everything we're talking about, and it's really time for people's legal rights to be seen and heard, and for more equity to occur. So I'm really happy about all the conversations around the Black Lives Matter movement and all the work that, for example, National Parents Union is doing, and that Legal Aid Society is doing. I'm also on the board of the law library for the county. And at the law library, you know, the staff there is amazing, bringing justice to people who might not have access or the money to, you know, it's sad that justice should. Julie, that's my bestie from high school. Hey, girl.
So,
you know,
Julie,
another phenomenon.
We're running short on time. So there's something that I want to do. And Jules, I'm inviting you to do this. Is I have started at the end of the show for having my guest and I share 5 things that we're proud of. It's really around the things that the reason for it is so that we can like really just create that space to celebrate ourselves and celebrate each other. And so I invite, if you are in the chat, so Ginger, I see you. Jules, I know you're there. Mom, I know you're there. And I know you're there. Like really like write down things that you are proud of. So like, Mom, you can't say you're proud of me. That's mine. You like, what are you proud of doing or being? And so we're going to try to shoot for 5. Lorena, do you want to go first?
I'll go first. You alluded to one of them. One of the things I'm most proudest about is my ability to speak and slang even Russian and Spanish, and I'm very connected to those 2 languages and cultures and peoples. Another thing is that I inspire people. My mentees have gone far. They make me so happy and proud. Another thing I'm proud of is that I took a risk by taking a job that was very unfamiliar to me and leaving the world of lawyering for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And it can be scary sometimes because it's uncharted territory. But I really believe in the cause and the mission, and I just keep forging forward. And I really believe that my intention will manifest. Another thing I'm proud of is the awesome influence that I've had on my goddaughter, Maggie. And the last would be that I am a connector, and that I'm able to connect people in such genuine and meaningful ways that really help them improve their lives in some way.
I love that. I love the way that you talk about like being scared and doing something anyway, right? And I think that is something that is so important. So thank you, Elena, for joining us. Please write down some things that you're proud of. And Ginger, she's proud of learning to,
huge. Letting go of things is not easy for us.
For many reasons, right? And
yeah, Ginger's proud to be called a chingona by us, yes. And by many others.
And she absolutely is. She absolutely is a chingona, and she absolutely is a troublemaker in her industry.
I mean, low-income housing development. I'm telling you, I want in, Ginger Hitsky. Can you afford me? I'm a public interest lawyer. I think the answer is yes.
She can absolutely afford you.
I'm really inspired by her work, always.
I'm really proud. So I'm proud of the space. I'm proud of the space that is created here, which is a space for us to be, a space that continues to grow, a space for us to do this, right? To like just connect and be together.
Yes.
And I'm also excited about the community, right, that I've built, like having an amazing Ginger Hitsky in my life, having a Lorena Slomanson in my life, like all of the comadres, all of the friendships that I have. I'm also I'm gonna take this from you. I'm also really proud that I'm so willing to face into the darkness and face into the pain, because I know that I will grow. And and along with that is I'm constantly trying to be the best version of myself. And it is hard, and it's a struggle, but at the end of the day, like I always come back to wanting to be the best that I can be, not compared to anybody else, but really like challenging myself to be the best that I can be in this world. And I'm also glad that just my faith in the divine, my faith in creator, like my faith in spirituality. And along with that, like my faith that this is not our only life. And that I'm so proud of the connection that I maintain and that I continue to talk about with my ancestors, and the connection that I know that I will continue to have with my grandchildren and my great grandchildren and my the power of that. I'm really, really proud of that. Mm-hmm. And so, that rounds us out. So our time is up. Thank you so much, Lorena, for being here. Thank you so much for showing up and being present, and for who you are in this world.
Thank you. Who am I? A crier, a feeler, and I love you all. And I really do love crying, actually. I was excited to cry in front of everyone. I'm just kidding, but you know what, you guys, I love you guys. Yeah, it's wonderful.
And I need to put this. So Jeanette, thank you. Thank you for your work for our girls. Thank you for the work. And even though like you weren't Lorena's teacher, like you absolutely had an impact.
She has been my teacher, yes. She's lovely. Amazing.
So have a good night, everybody. I will see you on Wednesday. Until then, please know that you are always loved. You are cared for always. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.